Welcome, teachers. Today there's going to be information provided to you that's foundational information you will need to know as an individual and also as part of different team members at McBride School. There's some information that we're going to go into in depth today, and then there's some information that's going to be available for you after this presentation that you can access at will and as needed. And just want to go ahead and let you know up front that there'll be an opportunity during our professional development day for you to complete a needs assessment and determine what level of continued support you need based on the information that's being provided to you today. So there'll be some slides that are presented here and we go over in depth, and then there'll be some that we're going to leave for you to access as needed. This is critical foundational information so that you as an employee of DoDEA can help the organization and your different colleagues achieve our mission and envision and mission, which is presented to you here. This is the Department of Defense Education Activities, Vision, Mission, and also core values. This is directly from the DoDEA Blueprint from School Improvement. I recommend that you all become very familiar with this because this really sets not only our values, but it sets before us all of the goals that we are working towards and what we are accountable and responsible for closing the gaps on. There's 4 questions that helps us as learning community members to be focused. And these are 4 questions that during focused collaboration that we keep in our forefront. The focused collaboration process is such that we can determine collaboratively what we want our students to know and be able to do, how we will know if they know it. We make those decisions during collaboration, and then we make determinations based on our data on how we're going to respond if they do or do not know the information. Today we're really going to drill down more into what we do if they don't know it. And just keep in mind, PLC, focused collaboration, those are interchangeable words. But to achieve our mission and vision and to ensure that we're being, that we have fidelity towards our core values, these are the 4 questions that we want to keep in front of us. The lens to look at this through is that we have to collaborate because not all of us have the answer all of the time, and in fact some of the time none of us have the right answer. But through collaboration and having a common understanding and common processes, we are able to access the knowledge or access the resources so that we can make the best decision for students. So today we're going to focus really on intervention, and this is going to be some of the information that's presented to you, and you'll be able to determine at a later date what further support you need. Keep in mind though that intervention and the meetings that we hold to determine interventions and discuss data, that's not a program or a thing, it's a process. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the process. And when I say we, so I'm going to have Mr. Fletcher, our counselor here, discuss with you some of those processes as well. He and I are going to present information to you that's really kind of meant to get you started and allow you to make a self-determination on what support you need moving forward. So Mr. Fletcher and I will do our best to present to you as much of the information as possible and then allow you to make some determinations about next steps. So we're talking about a process of determining who's at risk, why are they struggling, and how we can support them as a community. Here at McBride, we have focused collaboration for math and literacy, and then we also have focused collaboration that drills down into the interventions that students need, primarily for math, reading, and writing, but also it could be for behavior. You could use that process for speech. Again, it's a process. It's a way of identifying who's at risk. And so we coined this time, this formal set-aside time as STAR, And that was intended to communicate that this is a formal, protected time for supporting teachers and accelerating success of both teachers and students. What we found was in the past that we needed this set aside time for intervention to ensure that there's not competing initiatives. We excel. That's what we do at McBride. That's our motto. That means that our mission for DoDEA, our vision for DoDEA, our core values, we excel in achieving those things. And so STAR, or collaboration time, is our mechanism for achieving that success. What does it mean to excel? It means that we don't wait until a child has failed to act. All students have access to support at their first sign of struggle. This collaboration time is your opportunity to discuss those struggles that students have and formulate a prescription, to formulate the remedy. STAR is a set-aside time to reduce those other competing initiatives, to keep the main thing the main thing. We could have simply called STAR, we could have called it Focus Collaboration for Intervention. STAR was just a neat little name that we came up with, and when I say we, there was folks here at McBride that saw several students that went an extended period of time without intervention. And so we had some cases here at McBride where students were not successful with daily instruction, and they were referred to the Tier 3 SST process, but they had not gone through the Tier 2 process. And so we, as a team, when this decision was made at McBride, said, hey, you know what, teachers need some time where they're not asked to do 1,000 different things. They need some time to focus on Tier 2 intervention. They need some time to focus on data, assessments, progress monitoring. So we could have just as easily called this Focus Collaboration. STAR was simply the name that came up in that conversation, and it was really meant to be a helpmate for teachers so that we can ensure that teachers are successful and students are successful. Some common understandings for STAR. So Ms. Allen and I want to make sure that there are some common understandings, but you also have flexibility within that time as a team. And so we'll start with norms. Just like in Focus Math or Focus Literacy, you should have norms. What time are you going to start? Are you all going to be on time? Do you have computers out? What are the computers used for? Is there a note taker, the same one every single time, or do you rotate? Is there a person who's really good at accessing the interventions, who wants to have all the books and the computer in front of them? Is there a person that is really good at entering data and doing charts and graphs? Maybe they want to be the progress monitoring person. Have defined roles and norms. We do expect that minutes are kept consistently and continually, and that they're accessible for not only administration but other support personnel or even yourselves, so that you can go back and access them. This is really critical for referrals, particularly for students that are not pushed back down to Tier 1 and they are pushed up to Tier 3 for SST and 504s. It's very critical that you keep this data accessible. And we're talking about assessment data and progress monitoring data. The attendees for STAR are always the neighborhood teachers. That's your core team. But also your admin, support specialists such as math and literacy, school psychologists, your counselor, maybe your ISSs, for example, Ms. Catherine Van Horn or Dr. Harper, Diane Harper. They will come, we will come as necessary and appropriate, and we ask these folks to attend because, again, through that collaborative process, we can come up with the prescription or the remedies. The pyramid that I have here is just so you can see the one that Georgia uses. I could have easily, just as easily have pulled another state's pyramid, but this one's similar to what we use in DoDEA. We use the 4-tier method that has special education referrals in Tier 4. We're going to get now into a part of the presentation that's going to be accessible to you for future reference. The primary purpose for today is looking at Tier 2 what do we do for Tier 2? What do we do for STAR? So when you think of STAR collaboration, when you think of focused collaboration for intervention, you really should be thinking about the yellow, the Tier 2. When the normal, everyday, daily routine for instruction is not working for a student. Within Tier 1, your standards-based classroom learning, you do have leveled groups. In math, for example, we often have 3 or 4 leveled groups. We do that, we differentiate because that's what we do. That's a best practice. Tier 2 is when that differentiated, that intensive support maybe for a level 3 student is not happening for the student. They're not getting it. So they're persistently in a level 3 intensive math group, which falls within Tier 1. If they're persistently struggling, that's when you start looking at Tier 2, and that's what we refer to as our STAR or our Tier 2 collaboration. So here's another look at that with just the 3, keeping SPED out of it. So it could be 3 or 4 tiers. I'll go back one more time. So see, Tier 4 is special education, but we're really focused in STAR on Tier 2, and you'll see that time and intensity increases. So we're going to stop here at this point, and there's going to be a second recording that's available to you. Mr. Fletcher is going to join me. We want to make sure that you have these next slides really as a reference. The expectation is that that you access these slides as needed. The next set of slides goes into what exactly is the difference between Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. What do you need to bring? What do you need to be gathering and to be doing? And what resources are available to you as a teacher? There's a plethora of resources on our teacher drive, our shared drive, and there's neighborhood books that's been given to you. So the next part, Mr. Fletcher is going to help me go through that. And the end result is going to be that you give us a needs assessment for a professional learning day, and you're going to decide, thumbs up, I've got this, I'm an expert. I clearly understand the tiered intervention process. In fact, I could teach it to somebody else. Or I'm pretty much getting it, but I would like to have some opportunities to delve into exemplar interventions and practice with progress monitoring. So you want to extend your knowledge, but you've got the basics. Or maybe you say, hey, you know what, I really want somebody to go through this with me. I want some guided practice, and so I need some intensive support. That's really going to be incumbent upon you for this next part to read through these slides and make those decisions. So we're going to pause Part A, and then Part B, the expectation again is that you go through and make those decisions.